What's up, Zoxaskun? We've been putting a ton of time into Tribe 9, and there is a lot to get into. There's tons of information I want to share with you guys to making sure that you're getting the best progression loop possible. So we're going to jump right into it. We are currently at the point of hitting level cap 20 for our characters. This is actually pretty big because this is a ton of time that we put in just so that we could actually raise the value of our units to make them stronger. Now, there's a lot that actually coincides with this because this goes into the battling and the exploration and so much more. But I want to start out with the characters because I know that that's one of the first pain points that a lot of players typically have. What character should they be aiming for? Now, if we actually go and take a look at the synchro, we currently have Subaku on the banner. And I think it is really, really important for you guys to understand that, yes, you can absolutely reroll, right? They basically made it very simple. You can basically go to the very beginning on the main screen, clear all data, and then you can just go back to the point of where you get your first multi. Now, there's kind of a catch here though that I did want to mention because I know some people are going to go right off rip and pull on this banner, but the way that the currency is accumulated in this game, it is intended for you to fully play the game. And it's not one of those games where you get to just like endlessly pull all day, right? So I want to kind of raise that as a thing to be aware of because it absolutely can change or make you feel away if you don't make the proper decision suited to what you want the experience to be, right? Now, the thing is that when we're actually taking a look at the characters, the reason why I'm personally going through the game without actually pulling is, and really honestly, not just because of the fact that, for one, I just don't really want any of the characters that's currently on rate up, but I will say that there's also the guests that they give you to test out, right? Now, the thing is that you get your initial cast here. You have Yo here, you obviously have Kosher, you have Roku, and you also get Suki, right? So these are some of the characters that you are going to start out with, but they then give you guests to trial for free. And I've had them the entirety almost up until the point of when I get introduced to the character. So if the character gets introduced, then they become a guest, and I've just been running around with them, right? So we have Q, for example. We just got Utica. We have EG. And then, of course, we get the rate up banner unit, right? And then also the 2-star rate up unit, Sinju, right? So one of the things that I was kind of looking at was like, well, this is the optimal time for me to be able to test out the characters. And I didn't want to aimlessly just pick a character and then realizing that there was some really important information you want to look at the character to kind of decide who you want to put on a team together. Now, number one, figuring out who your main slot unit is going to be. It is really important to look at the basic info because it will tell you how hard or how easy it is to basically operate that specific character. And that's under this operating difficulty. Like, for example, this character actually is at a 3 node for you to be able to operate her. So she's going to require a little bit more skill and know-how to be able to play. Maybe not the most friendliest thing if you're just starting out, right? But her ability to attack and support is really high, and she offers a lot of value, right? So she basically has an AoE attack, for example. And these come with its own set of effects. I'm not going to go through all of these, but she basically can restore HP, right? So just kind of thinking about it in that perspective. She can do damage and she can restore HP, simply put, right? Now, on top of that, you then have to then factor in the rest of the team. So with that attack ability, with that break ability being so low, that means that you need a character on the team that's going to be breaking for you, right? And so that's something that you would be looking at. So I was looking at characters like Q, for example, where his operating difficulty is just as hard as hers, but then his break ability is extremely high. And that's something that I was like, okay, cool. That actually can work extremely well in my team. Now, there are a couple of different things that you will also have to factor in as well, is that there are some units that won't necessarily have that value shown right away. And support could mean 2 different things as well. So support could mean heal, support can mean tanking or aggroing. It's not all straightforward as, hey, they only are heal if they support, right? Because, for example, take Roku, for example. Roku is a tank, but one of the cool things about him, and I was actually fortunate enough in my first multi to actually pull a dupe of him, he has the ability to actually amplify the amount of healing you receive. So that actually makes him kind of insane for support if you really think about it. And you pairing him up with any sort of unit that's able to heal is going to be kind of ridiculous, right? But then the other thing is too, is that he's a 2 node at his operating difficulty. But then when you look at the very first character we get in the game, he's basically going to have a pretty solid attack ability. His support ability is really low. His operating difficulty is really low, which is great. But then his break ability is really high. So you're basically going to be trying to filter in what roles you need. So you respectively want a unit that's decent at attacking, definitely a unit that's great at breaking, and then of course you want a solid or respectable unit in supporting. And supporting again is going to be really boiling down to whether they're tanking or whether they're healing for your comp, right? So I would say that the first team is one of the more optimal setups just to kind of give you an idea of how the game is being presented, but you can then from there kind of mix and match what you want. But I think it all boils down and starts there, understanding the basic info and how you can utilize those characters, because keep in mind, you can swap to these characters as well, is going to be super important, right? So that's basically that. Now, the other things that I also want to talk about, and what I was really trying to do, just to kind of give you guys just kind of that base value info, is that I've been trying to only play with the freebie characters that they've given us, just to kind of see what is the real parameter. Do I need to pull for rate up units? Do I need to have those characters? And so far, the answer's really been no. I've tested and obviously have tried out the guest characters just to see how, fun they were, and they're extremely fun. But I haven't had the need where I was like, oh man, I'm not healing enough, or man, I'm not doing enough damage. Really, it's all about you getting good, and that's just as simple as it gets. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is obviously the tension cards, because I think investment in your tension cards is going to be important. Leveling your characters is something that you can also do organically. So I guess we can kind of talk about those two things. Now with the tension cards, I think it is really important to note that up until this point, I have not had to level any of my stuff yet, really. I mean, honestly, I've only leveled the one tension card, and it was just because it was kind of like a guided, learn how to do this type of thing that was happening. So I leveled it just to see what would happen. And it does increase the values of your gear. Now you can absolutely make these things stronger, which I think would actually benefit you a ton just to get you through the content much easier and more seamlessly. But up until this point, I basically have tackled everything, and I'm just kind of pushing the limits to see at what point do I really need to start pushing the levels on my ascensions. I will say that if you do decide to push these, be very aware of the fact of your resources. This is where you're really going to have to get into playing the game. This TP resource here, as well as this other resource as well, is going to be huge for you to be able to invest into these resources or into this item. So if we go to ascend here, and we go and actually let's go to leveling here. And let's go to ascend. I don't think I have any materials for it. Okay, so that's fine. So let me see here if we can actually just do it this way. There we go. So we have the tension card level up. And basically, as you see here, it will start to be kind of pricey, right? And this is not even just on that item, right? It's like, let's go to a limit break one. Right now, that goes up to 34K and 10K. Now, granted, this is from me not really spending it. So the higher up you go on raising the values of these items is definitely going to raise in price. Granted, the TP is really the big one. I would say that really will drain, and that's something that you want to be a little bit mindful of with what you're investing in. But even down to the cards you're using or the tension cards you're using, it is really important to read them. Like, a lot of people don't realize that we actually have been given a really busted one. And this one is basically making it to where it gives you a free revive, right? So this is definitely one that I would say you probably want to build. It builds up your critical damage multiplier. So this definitely is something that wouldn't be a bad idea, in my opinion, to be able to, like, say, take to the next level and invest in, right? So kind of the same thing with the characters. I think one thing I've also been kind of doing to save resources, just to kind of see what this is like realistically going to create a need for, is EXP. You don't really get a ton of it, right? But I think that that's because it's intended for you to actually play the game. And what I noticed is that, like, for example, this 22 will take me to level 19, but then I won't have any more for the next character. And I mean, I've been basically doing everything I can as far as exploration to basically find resources. And EXP is just not one of those things that I have a ton of yet. So that's just what it is. But the cool thing is that technically you can get levels just from playing and fighting things. Like, it's not hard, right? Like, it's only 1700 EXP, and respectively so, you can go do rifts, or you can go and fight things in the overworld, and you can level up pretty seamlessly. I actually have not used any EXP materials up until this point, and I've just been naturally leveling. And this is another thing that I think I wanted to bring up as well, is that this is why I've been using the base team. If you are using other characters, yes, it's cool to try out the guests, but keep in mind the guests don't gain any EXP. They actually scale with your investment in your progression, right? So if we look at the guests are currently level 18, but that's just what the game presets them as, because I now have hit a new level cap, right? So once you are looking to invest in specific units, make sure they're on the team, because that means that every time you do a fight or every time you're going into a battle, if those characters aren't in there, they're basically missing an opportunity to gain EXP, and that's just more fights that you'll just have to do, right? So we're trying to condense that time a little bit for you. Now, the other thing is too, is that you also have the compatible monster. Now, the compatible monster is actually a really unique system. It kind of reminds me, if I'm not mistaken, I think they were called Tamagotchis, that we had way back in the day. And the cool thing is that it only really needs you to have a 2-piece set effect, at least starting out. So this 2-piece effect increases attack by 15%. Now, the other thing that you want to be mindful of is that these substats will be for specific characters as well, right? So you want to kind of pay attention to that, because you might get lucky. And like, for example, this has the Dynamo Smasher Enhance. This is a way for you to be able to raise the action level of a character's skill. So like, for example, let's actually go to our Roku, right? And I think that one was on, was it this piece? So yeah, this piece right here, or actually no, wrong piece. I don't even remember what piece we're looking at. But yeah, basically you want to make sure that you're matching that up with the respective character, because that is going to give you some value, right? And it's ultimately going to allow you to basically make them stronger in what they're doing. There we go. So this headpiece right here, we can actually swap on. And now he actually is going to have his Smasher Enhance, which if we go back to the character, right, and we go and we take a look at his abilities, you'll see that there's a level 1 here. So this is now making the Dynamo Smasher stronger than it was before, and you can actually check that out on the status details. So that actually plays a pretty vital role in you being able to make your character stronger. And like I said, this is another reason as to why you want to be exploring and fighting as much of the stuff that you possibly can that you come across, because there's a chance that you can find something that's actually going to be of value to your character. Now, granted, you can equip whatever you want to whatever character you want, but I think the most important thing is that you're fulfilling the set bonus so that you're able to get that effect. And then you're also looking for pieces that are going to allow you to be able to increase your skill value. I think that that's like what I've been like kind of looking at. Keep in mind, there are tiers also to the gear. So, or the compatible monsters. And with the tiers, that obviously means that you're going to be getting, you know, something of more value. Like for example, here we have the line diver. So I could technically give this to, or driver. I could technically give this piece to my yo, but again, you have to kind of decide what you want to do there, and so that's to each character, right? So that's basically that. Now, the other thing outside of that, guys, that I think is really important for you guys to be following is obviously your marks, okay? Now, what exactly are the marks? They're basically the mark stickers, and this is coming from the Zero Sensei. This is something that is required, right? A lot of the things that a lot of people see me doing was just simply because I was actually reading while I was streaming. So they're like, why are you farming? Why are you looking at every wall crevice? Why are you trying to, you know, find every chest? It's because it literally will determine how much quicker you can get to the point of, one, getting extra currency. For example, the free Enigma entity. And then also the full mark stickers. Now, the full mark stickers are going to be going towards your level cap raising. And if you want to be able to also progress in the game, you need to also collect mark stickers. So for example, the next portion in the game that we are going to, let's actually go to the map here. And let's go on the map here. Let's go to this area. This aquarium entrance is one of the next portions that we need to get to. You needed specifically 25 mark stickers for you to be able to go into that next point. Now, the thing is that what you're going to do when you get stuck at points like that, it's actually going to require you to go back into the world and start basically essentially exploring, finding things, doing rifts, doing the missions inside of the hotels, like taking people's requests and helping them out. If you do those things, it's just going to make your life much easier. And I know that a lot of people are like trying to avoid those things, but you got to do it, right? So let's actually go back up here. And this was initially blocked, so we weren't able to actually walk in here before, but now it's open, right? So there will be gates that you'll come across, and when you come across those, you might come across them like quite a bit and just be stuck if you haven't already just been doing some of the things I've naturally been doing. So yes, it is a full immersion, like immersive game where you have to be doing everything, right? So now we can actually go into the next component of the game. So that's pretty cool there. Now, if you do need to go back just to make navigating a lot easier for you, go to the map. And when you're looking at the map, the easiest way to be able to tell like what you need to do here, these red icons like this are rifts, right? In rifts, you can basically go in here. It does require you to have one of these entry keys, and the entry keys are like dropping everywhere, like from you just doing stuff basically, right? But the rewards that you're getting are basically going to be things that are required for you to be able to work on your tension cards, etc., right? So it's going to be really important for you to actually get those things. Obviously, you have the waypoints, which are your I guess these are technically like the teleport versions of the rifts. They're not really things that you go into, but they basically help you move around or navigate the city. The other things that you're looking for here, like for example, you see that there's all these grade play buttons. These are missions that I can go and turn in, or they're a part of a mission for me to be able to have a mission to go and turn in, right? You also have green missions here, which you also want to make sure that you go and fulfill as well. And then you also might have it where it's an exclamation mark, which means that there's a mission there for you to go and start, so that you can basically work towards getting, you know, a mission complete or getting the premium currency from that mission, just to kind of give you what the reward is or the point of it is, right? So ultimately, that's what you want to do. And all of these maps portions I have navigated. As you can see, there's some parts over here I haven't gotten to yet. But once we get to those next portions, like even over here, there's another mission and another waypoint. Those are going to be more things that's going to be equating to me collecting more mark stickers and just kind of helping me along the way. Now, outside of that, the biggest thing is too, guys, is that when you're progressing throughout the game, I think that the one thing that I really wanted to emphasize is that this game is truly a game that it seems like it kind of reminds me of like another Eden, where you want to actually be going into the game with the intent of enjoying the game, picking up characters that you want to play. I don't think it's really even so much about what's just meta, because again, the currency in the game to me doesn't seem like it is as bountiful for you to be able to go crazy on a banner and feeling like, oh, I'll just get, you know, the next thing on the next banner. I feel like you really truly want to save and go for the things that you really want, right? So that at least is going to be my advice. I hope that this was able to kind of help you guys and give you guys some instruction on how you can kind of navigate and make things slightly easier for yourself. But yeah, guys, that's basically going to be that with this one. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Stay blessed out there, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.